Hi, my name's Tina Parks and I'm from the British Academy of Floral Art, and I'm here this afternoon to show you some inspiration for these beautiful daffodils. So we've looked at different focuses, and at the moment we're focusing on elements of design, and elements are the individual items that are in each thing. So this daffodil has two colours, or three colours because it's got a brown in it as well, has a form, has a texture, different texture on the stem and the petals, and it has a beautiful shape as well, sort of a trumpet shape. So the elements are already in the flower, and the design principles are how we use those elements. So we're looking today at the elements, and one of the elements we're looking at is colour. So these beautiful, bright, lovely yellow daffodils are so beautiful and cheerful, and they're perfect because they represent their perfect colour for the Pantone colour this year, which for 2021 is yellow and grey. So we've got illuminate and illuminating. So we've got grey, which is solid and reliable and trustworthy, and we've got blended, supported by yellow, which is warm, optimistic, and bright and cheerful. So those two colours work really, really well together, and it's only the second time that they've used two colours for the colour of the year. So I've chosen these beautiful daffodils, which are gorgeous. They come in bunches of 10 in this country, and when you buy them, what you need to look for is the really tight ones. Now this bunch of daffodils has only been in water for 3 days, but already you can see none of them are really tight anymore. So when they first come, they come with this sheath, the papery bit, tight over the bud, and they call them blind because they're really, really tight, and this papery sheath goes over the top to protect them. What you've got to look for is you want nice, tight, solid buds, but just with a tiny touch of colour at the end, and then they'll give you the longest lasting length of time for the cut flower, which can be between 6 and 10 days in water. This is just a standard daffodil, so this is Narcissi, the Latin name for daffodils, and it comes from the Amaryllidaceae family, so it related to the Amaryllis. The flower is really easy to look after, but it's interesting because it has this sap. So it's a hollow stem, so that if I cut one, you'll see, actually it's not looking so hollow here, but you can start to see there's a little bit of sap starting to develop at the end of the stem where I've just cut it. And if I just hold that up for a bit while we talk, you'll see that that's starting to develop. There's a little bit of sap going to come out of that, and you'll see it drop in a minute. Can you see that's just starting? There you go, it's starting to drop now. So this has a sap in it, so it's considered to be a hollow stem, which is delicate, and it has this sap in it. Now the sap is not good when you mix it with other flowers, so traditionally daffodils have always been considered to be best arranged on their own. And they're so beautiful and bright that actually I think that is right. I think that looks really good. There's been lots of experiments where people have cut the daffodils and then put them, you just see it drop there, put them into water and condition them overnight, say 24 hours or 12 hours in their own water, and then don't recut them and put them into a vase with other flowers. But there's been quite a few experiments on that, and although the flowers look unaffected for 4 or 5 days, after that it definitely lessens the life of the flowers that you mix them with, so especially tulips. So if you mix them, if you cut them and put them straight into water with another flower, say with a bunch of tulips, even within a day or half a day, the daffodil sap will start to damage the tulip flower, and it means it won't open fully or it won't last well, so they start to deteriorate. So really the best rule of thumb is to keep them separate. You could have a little trick where you put a vase inside a vase, which is quite clever. So you can have a small little glass inside here, and the daffodils could go into the glass, and then the other flowers, if you wanted to mix them, could go around the outside in the main vase, and then no water would mix. So it's the sap in the water that seems to turn the other flowers or reduce their life. Daffodils originally come from the south of Europe, and there are an awful lot of species available now. So we see quite a few as a florist, but probably not as many as we used to. We used to have a daffodil man who used to come up from Cornwall to our shop, and he used to be amazing, Martin. He used to come up and he used to have all the different varieties of daffodils. And you could always tell in what part of the daffodil season we were by the type of daffodils he was offering for sale. And one of the last daffodils that are available are the double daffodils. And then the very last ones that he used to always bring up were the lovely pheasant eye, which are the white coloured pale back ones with a flat trumpet and the orange centre. So the trumpet's more orange. That's a really pretty one. So let's just have a quick look. So cutting these from the garden, cut them when they're in tight bud, tiny touch of colour on the end, cut as close to the base as you can, straight into cold or slightly room temperature water, I think is always the best. And not too deep, shallow water. They're a soft, delicate stem, so they don't like a lot of water around their stem. So just a small amount of water, an inch or so in the bottom of the vase, just keep it topped up, or even better, if you can change it every couple of days, you will help the daffodil last longer because you're getting rid of any bacteria, and therefore you're helping the stem structure stay strong and be able to take up all the water it needs. Rule of thumb, always a slight angle. When we cut these in the shop, we always cut them straight, but when you get them home, cut them at a slight angle just to allow the water absorption to be better for the daffodil, keep it nice and strong. So what we're going to do with these is we're going to support them in this vase. If I put them in the vase, what happens to them is they just sort of splay out, which is quite pretty, but maybe we'll do a little bit of something to hold them up. So I've got some bits of branches here. This is sort of lichen covered branches, which is really pretty. It's like grey-green colour. And I'm just going to wedge some of these into the vase. So let's see if I can just get that one to wedge a little bit into the vase. And help hold the stems in place then. So if you wedge a few pieces in. So this vase is slightly curved inside, so it's kind of curved back up, which means you need a little bit less material, which is quite good. So I'm just going to add these guys in. So let's put the tall one in. See if I might need to wedge another one across. And then these ones. Another nice wide one. So the ones that are really good for wedging are the slightly wider stemmed ones where they divide. And sometimes what you can do is put them in the opposite way around as well. Okay, so if we break the stem off there and there, you might need secateurs. If they're older branches, that will give us a base. We can sit that on, so it's going to sit down like that. But it's wider, so it will help push the other stalks away. And it's just creating a nice sort of knitted space inside, which allows the stems to go down, find their own little space, but also supports the flower heads on the top. Let's just break that one down a little bit smaller. So turn that one around. So the more you have to wedge in, the better. I'll take that one down, it's a little high. Let's take this one down as well. Fill in with some little bits as well across. Okay, make some little cross sections in there. That will help hold the flowers in place. Wedging technique into the base. There we go. Okay. And now we can put some of our flowers in. So a little bit of water in the bottom, and then I'm going to keep the flower quite short, so it's sitting more on the top. This can look really quite pretty if we use the flower material even lower, right in the vase, which is quite pretty. So let's drop one right down in. Now it's easier to put them in when they're in bud form because they slide right down in and don't damage the petals. And they'll open up for you. They will keep on opening up. drop like those right down in. Drop that even lower. Just cutting them down a bit lower so it go a little lower down. Don't want them on the same height if I can help it. I want to step them up. And this one, take it a little bit lower. Just wiggling them down so that they sit down through. So they're just finding a little slot in the space there in the stem. And always measure the flower against the side of the vase so you can see where that's going to go. Quite cute there. Looks quite nice sometimes if you hang the sticks on the outside of the vase as well. I think that one's a little high. I'm going to swap that one over. Just with this one, a little lower. And then just take that one down a little bit, just so that it can come a little higher there, but just sit over the top of the other one. So keeping them all quite short. Maybe one more on this side. Let's go for a little open chat there. Measure it against the side of the vase so you can see that it's going to fit. Just going to lift that up so I can slide him down. Okay. So we've just created a little collection of daffodils. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 daffodils, not even a whole bunch in there. So really simple, really sweet little simple design, just putting the little daffodils in and keeping them really nice and simple. So we need to put a little bit of water in here. So we need about 1 inch or 1.5 inches water, perhaps 1 inch probably for this at the base. And then just keep that topped up to make sure that they don't dry out of water. And then that's going to last, with the state the daffodils are in now, they've been with me 3 days, so probably another 3 or 4 days I think that will last. But if we'd done it from the buds from the initial buying, then this probably would last you 6 or 7 days, which is perfect. And I love it when you come down in the morning and you see them open. I think they're really nice. They go through all those different stages, which is beautiful. And they're so lovely and cheerful. So not even a whole bunch of daffodils has filled this whole vase. But we could go bigger. So I've got a different combination here. So this is the white sticks. And the white sticks are just snow-covered birch sticks, like so. And some of these, what I've done is I've actually added them to the outside. So I've cut them that way and hung them over the side of the vase so that they add interest to the outside of the arrangement as well as the inside of the arrangement, because it's quite nice to incorporate the vase into the design, and then we can add some of our daffodils through this design. So this one, I'm going to take the daffodils a little bit higher. I'm just going to leave them the length they are, because they are, the vase is taller and the sticks are taller, so I've left this one nice and tall. But we could chop this one right off and put the flowers right down inside the vase, which is very trending at the moment as well, which is very good if you've got a corporate piece where you don't want it to get knocked and you don't want sticks sticking out so that they could get caught on people's clothing or on people passing by. So just popping a few in there, turn it round. I like the combination of the white and the daffodil, the yellow colour, and then you've got this nice green. So proportion of design for my lovely masters, we can be thinking about design colour proportion, even in designs when we're doing something quite simple. So here we could think about our proportion of yellow to white. So those are the two key drivers. The more yellow I put in, it changes the proportion from being driven by the white to being driven by the yellow, which is quite nice. And we've also got a touch of green in there as well. So the green is important. So the green is like the 3, so about 3. The white is the, on this design, it's probably, I think the white is the 8 still at the moment, and the yellow is the 5. But if I put too many yellow in, the yellow will become dominant and become the 8. So it's interesting to play with the proportions of colour. So basically we're a little group, a small group of something, so the green, a middle group of something, so the yellow, and a larger group of something, and I've chosen the larger group to be the white in this case. So that's quite nice. So I'll just pull that back so you can see the whole thing. So that works really prettily. And my final one, just to show you is a pretty one with this twisted willow. So this one's just got 3 daffodils in it, and it's got the twisted willow in it. So very different feel because of the sticks. So the other white one's very upright and very kind of almost slightly modern looking. This one's softer but still stylized, because these lovely twisted willow pieces are very stylized. You might have a twisted hazel or twisted willow in the garden you could use, but these dry lovely, and then obviously we can use them for this, and we can take them out when the daffodils go, dry them off again, and then we can use them again, which is really great. So this is the twisted willow, and again, bring some of the twisted willow on the outside is quite nice, rather than everything being on the inside. So you can hang bits on the outside, so it incorporates the outside of the vase along with the inside of the vase. So, and obviously, and then we had our lovely first one we did, which was with the much more wild twigs. So this is twigs you could just pick up outside on a walk with the lovely lichen on. So it depends what you've got available to you. But the twigs make a super base and allow you just to set your flower material off. So if you had picked from the garden, you only wanted to use 3, this design would be perfect. Or you can go right down in and put the flowers inside the vase, and then you'd only need a couple in there as well. So I hope you have loads of fun with your daffodils, and I look forward to seeing you again.